Welcome back to the Deep Dive. I'm Hari.
And I'm Kimi.
We're here to explore the knowledge you bring us. And before we dive in, quick one. What do you call a lazy kangaroo?
Oh, let me think. A pouch potato.
Exactly. Perfect for just sitting around, unlike us today. Because you've shared some fascinating sources on how Stevenson's Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde leaped from the page to the stage.
That's right. Specifically, the 1887 play by Thomas Russell Sullivan. It wasn't just a straight adaptation.
No, it seems like it really shaped how we still see the story today, influencing loads of later versions. So our mission is to unpack the interesting, maybe less-known bits of that transformation.
It really kicks off with the actor Richard Mansfield. He was quite ambitious, always looking for those big, meaty roles.
And he'd played dual roles before, hadn't he, in Rip Van
He
Winkler?
had, yes. So when Stevenson's novella came out in '86, Mansfield saw the potential immediately. Jekyll and Hyde, perfect for him.
So he snapped up the stage rights, US and UK?
Pretty quickly, yeah. And then he commissioned Sullivan to write it. Now, Sullivan, he was actually a bank clerk in Boston, wrote in his spare time.
A part-time writer tackling Jekyll and Hyde? That's interesting.
And apparently Sullivan was, well, a bit doubtful at first, wasn't sure it would work as a play.
Huh. And there's a fun fact here, isn't there? About why they rushed it.
Oh, absolutely. They hurried it into production to basically stop anyone else from staging an unauthorized version first.
Right. Beat them to the punch.
Mm-hmm.
So the premiere was in Boston.
Yep. Boston Museum, May 9th, 1887, which was incredibly fast, like only 2 weeks after rehearsals even started. First American stage version.
Wow. Then it went through some changes before hitting Broadway.
That's right. Revised, polished up, and opened on Broadway that September. A.M. Palmer produced it, sets by Richard Marston.
And didn't Stevenson's family see it?
Yes, his wife and mother went. They apparently congratulated Sullivan, which must have been nice, though Stevenson himself was ill.
And it did well on Broadway. Led to a tour.
It was popular, yeah, toured the country. But there was some drama.
Oh.
A less-known story involves a rival producer, Daniel Banman. He put on his own unauthorized version in New York.
No way. When?
Right in the middle of the Great Blizzard of 1888, believe it or not. And Sullivan himself was apparently in the audience watching.
That's incredible. Did Stevenson weigh in?
He did. He publicly backed Mansfield's version, which helps solidify its legitimacy.
Okay, so it's doing well in the U.S. Then London calls.
Mm-hmm. The famous English actor Henry Irving invited Mansfield to bring the play to the Lyceum Theatre in London.
Big deal.
Huge. But Banman, that rival producer, was also planning a London version. So Mansfield had to rush his company over there.
More rushing.
Absolutely. And he ended up working with Irving's stage manager, who happened to be Bram Stoker.
But Bram Stoker.
Yeah.
And another little fun fact, Irving apparently booked the Opera Comique Theater just for Mansfield's rehearsals, mainly to block Bandman from getting it.
Theatrical gamesmanship. So, the London opening, August 1888. Yes. And this is where things take a darker, less-known turn.
How so?
Its opening coincided almost exactly with the Jack the Ripper murders starting in Whitechapel.
Oh, wow. That's unsettling.
Extremely. And the press, well, they ran with it. Some papers started drawing parallels between Hyde, this figure of hidden evil, and the Ripper.
Gosh. Did it affect the play?
It certainly created buzz, but also, things got weird. There was even an anonymous letter to the police suggesting Mansfield might be the Ripper.
You're kidding. Because he played Hyde so convincingly.
Presumably. Just shows how much the character tapped into the city's anxieties. But despite all that sensationalism...
This wasn't a hit.
Financially, no. The London run was actually a failure.
Strange. Let's talk about the play itself, the changes Sullivan made. He added characters.
He did. Most significantly, Agnes Carew, who becomes Jekyll's fiancée, that introduces a whole romantic subplot not in the novella.
Right. Gives Jekyll more to lose, maybe.
Perhaps. And Sullivan also seemed to make the contrast sharper. Jekyll became maybe more purely good, Hyde more utterly evil. Less ambiguity than Stevenson, perhaps.
And the plot structure? Wasn't that different, too?
Very much so. The novella has that complex structure, multiple viewpoints, letters. Sullivan made it a straightforward, linear story, easier for a theater audience to follow,
Makes sense. And what about the science aspect? The potion?
Downplayed. Stevenson goes into some detail, but the play relied much more on the visual shock of the transformation itself.
The spectacle.
Exactly. And Sullivan also tweaked Jekyll's motivation a bit, made it sound more noble, like he wanted the potion to benefit the world.
Interesting. So about that transformation,
Yeah.
Mansfield's performance, that was the big talking point.
Oh, hugely. His Hyde and the actual change on stage got rave reviews. People were fascinated, even if his Jekyll got mixed notices sometimes.
How do they think he did it, the
Well,
transformation?
Well, that's a less-known detail, the sheer amount of speculation. Audiences whispered about trick lighting, quick-change masks, maybe even prosthetics hidden somehow.
But Mansfield denied all that.
Completely. He insisted it was pure acting. Contorting his face, changing his posture, his voice. Raw physical transformation.
Oh, dedication.
And here's another fun tidbit pronunciation.
Go on.
Mansfield and his American cast said Jekyll with a short E like Jekyll. And that pronunciation has largely stuck, even though it might not have been Stevenson's intention.
Huh. Amazing how theater can influence something like that. And the timing of the reveal was different, too.
Yeah, the play showed Hyde transforming fairly early on, unlike the novella, which builds the mystery. But Sullivan cleverly held back the reverse transformation, Jekyll changing back from Hyde until the third act.
What do that?
Probably because the initial audience wouldn't have known the story's big twist yet. Keep some suspense for later.
Smart. So looking back, this play was a massive deal for both writer and star.
Definitely. It launched Sullivan's full-time writing career, and it cemented Mansfield as a major dramatic actor, took him beyond his earlier roles.
And its legacy. It really shaped what came after, didn't it?
Absolutely. So many later adaptations, especially films, borrowed heavily from Sullivan's play, not just Stevenson's book.
Like which ones?
Well, the early silent ones, like a 1912 version, and definitely the famous 1920 John Barrymore film, they used Sullivan's structure, the added romance.
Even the later sound films, the 1931 and 41 versions?
You can see Sullivan's influence there too, yeah. And interestingly, those films added a female companion for Hyde, not just Jekyll. Maybe that Ripper association lingering.
Possibly. And there's even a detail about the sets.
Yes. A less-known potential link, some think the design of Hyde's rooms in that 1920 Barrymore film might have been inspired by descriptions of Mansfield's original stage sets.
Incredible how far the ripple spread from one adaptation.
It really was. Sullivan's play acted as this crucial bridge, between the original text and how Jekyll and Hyde entered mainstream pop culture. It really defined the visual and narrative template for many.
So to wrap this up, it's clear this 1887 play was more than just complete telling. It actively shaped our whole idea of Jekyll and Hyde.
Without a doubt, it translated the core ideas for a different medium, and in doing so, created new traditions.
Which leaves us with a final thought for our listeners. Considering all those changes Sullivan made, adding characters, simplifying the morals, the structure, and thinking about it premiering in London right amidst the Ripper scare, how might that early stage adaptation have perhaps amplified certain aspects of Stevenson's story, or maybe even distorted his original intentions?
That's a really rich question. How does adaptation, especially under specific historical pressures, reshape a classic? Something to ponder.
Definitely something to think about. Okay, that's all we have time for in this deep dive.
Until next time, keep exploring.
Farewell, everyone.